It's good to be here, guys. Let me take a hand. How many parents in the room? Okay. How many grandparents in the room? Those of you who did not raise your hand, aunts, uncles, yes? Okay. Okay, great. Teachers? A lot of teachers. Awesome. Okay, good to know. What are you, nurse? Yay, thank you. Okay. Well, I am going to speak to you primarily as a community, but mostly as parents or people who somehow work with children. How's that sound? Okay. And I want this to be a very interactive night. So I may call on you for things. I may ask for volunteers because I love to be around youth. And so that's what I'm used to. So you might be like 8th graders for me tonight, and I'm going to need you to do that. Okay, I am Stephanie Olson, and I am with the Set Me Free Project, and I love the SCIP program. We got introduced several years ago, and they are a great resource for you, and I want to be the same. So we are going to talk about sex trafficking and social media safety. And if you're anything like me, you're sick of this weather. Yes. I saw a meme the other day that said, I feel like we're in a snow globe and someone keeps shaking us. That's exactly what is happening, I think. So the Set Me Free Project is all about prevention education. That's what we do. Our goal is to prevent sex trafficking and then to make sure social media is safe. We don't do victim services, we don't do rescue, but we partner with great organizations that do. And we began about 5 years ago because as we looked around, I had done a lot of work with women in the area of domestic violence, addiction, homelessness, things like that. But I had also been speaking to middle school and high schoolers in the schools on healthy relationships for about 4 years and wanted to somehow help sex trafficked victims, not having any idea what that meant at all. And my whole idea of what sex trafficking was the movie Taken. Yes, how many of you have seen the movie Taken? Yeah, exactly. And so my mindset, and if you haven't seen the movie Taken, it's about 2 girls that go off to Europe by themselves, and they get kidnapped and shipped into the sex trade industry. And so my thought was always, okay, as long as I don't send my teenage girls to Europe by themselves, we're good. And if Liam Neeson is their dad, that helps a little bit. That always does help, right? So that was kind of my mindset. But when I started to look around at what was going on in Nebraska, it was totally different than that. It wasn't about kidnapping, and it wasn't about being shipped away. And so I thought, gosh, this is happening in my community. And Nebraska is actually a hotspot for sex trafficking. That's what we're looking at. And so when I started to really research this, because I knew there was something I was supposed to do in this area and I didn't know what it was. Now I wish I hadn't done that at all, but we're here, so that's what I get to do. But I realized as I started to look around, and I had been working with youth in the schools, no one is talking to the targets of sex trafficking. They have no idea they're at risk. And no one is telling parents. And so that's really how it all began. And I'm a mom of 3 teenagers in my home, 3 teenagers and a man. So, yes, it's a very busy home. But when this started, it was about 5 years ago, and I thought, this is exactly who I need to protect. And so I need to know what's going on. And we got the opportunity to write a curriculum, go into schools, and it's been an amazing thing. And we started in one school in Millard in Omaha, and now we're in over 120 schools today throughout Nebraska and Iowa, and it is just an exciting thing. So I will talk a little bit more about that later, But let's dive in to the whole sex trafficking thing. So, prevention is important because who can tell me how many trafficked victims are rescued? Anybody know? It is 1 to 2%. 1 to 2% of trafficked victims are actually rescued. That's a staggering statistic. And so when we found that out, we thought, okay, so we need to actually stop it before it starts. Because if only 1 to 2% are rescued, we need to actually get in front of it. And so that's how we began. So I always start with a trigger warning. I just want to tell you that we are going to be talking about some tough stuff, and we are going to be also having some fun, believe it or not. But we are, I always say, if you need to, if you're feeling triggered, you're feeling uncomfortable, take care of yourself. Go to the, did you do housekeeping? Does everyone know where the restrooms are? You guys know? I don't know where they are. Somewhere over there. Go to the restroom, somewhere over there. Go get a drink of water, whatever. Just take care of yourself and make sure you're doing okay. Now, this number right here is the National Human Trafficking Resource Center. That number they make easy to remember. If you could have this everywhere you are, like on your phone, have it in your schools, have it in your nursing communities. Are you in a hospital? Are you in a LPS? Thank you. That's fabulous. Okay. So 888-3737-888. They make that very easy to remember. This is a number that you can report anything. And so if you think you see trafficking, report it. If you're not sure it's trafficking, report it. You cannot be wrong. Now, this is not going to be a quick fix for anybody. This number goes on the desk of somebody in Nebraska, and it has to be reported, and they take care of it. And so if you need an immediate assistance, always call 911. But we are also a resource, and you can text us, you can call us, go to our website at setmefreeproject.net. We are available. All right, here we go. So, who can define for me human trafficking? Because this is the first step, and I will tell you, this is the hard part, because if we think it's something it's not, we miss it completely. So anybody brave enough to define it? I'll do it. It is the force, fraud, or coercion of a human being for the personal profit or gain of another. It requires 3 people, 3 parties. So it requires the person being sold, it requires the person trafficking, and it requires the person buying. So a lot of times this is confused with sexual exploitation or things like this. So if you have somebody who's exploiting someone, just one person and the person being exploited, that is not sex trafficking. But if you have a buyer and something of value being traded, that is sex trafficking. Now, force, fraud, or coercion, those are key as well. So force, we know what force is, right? Physical force. What is fraud? Yes, exactly. Saying something that's not. Deception is fraud. Now, we have seen people convicted on the deception of, I love you. That can be fraud in a case of sex trafficking. What is coercion? So threatening them, yep, absolutely, and kind of manipulatively, right? So coercion is that force mentally. Yeah, so that's what that is. Now, those 3 things, federally in Nebraska, we actually make it even easier. It's by any means. But federally, those 3 things have to be in place to have a conviction for sex trafficking. You have to see either, all 3, you have to see either force, fraud, or coercion. But with a minor, absolutely anything goes. So if you see a minor in a situation of commercial sex, that is sex trafficking. Force, fraud, and coercion does not have to be present. Now, when we're talking about, and we're not going to talk about labor trafficking, but when we're talking about labor trafficking, force, fraud, or coercion needs to be present in both adults and minors. Why? Yes, because minors can legally work. Yes. Okay. So stop me, by the way, with any questions. But prevention is so important. Now, I always say that awareness, and there is a lot of awareness going on right now, and that's a good thing. That's why you're here. I guarantee you. And pat yourselves on the back, by the way, for being here. Good for you. Because I will tell you, parent and community nights are the least attended of anything we do. People don't want to come. And so I'm very proud of, pat yourself on the back and say, good for me coming, good job. Yes. So awareness is happening, and that's a good thing. But I think there's a huge difference between awareness and prevention. Because awareness says, I'm going to tell you what's going on. Good luck. And that's not what we want to do. So I have a video for you that kind of talks about awareness, and this does two things. This tells you what I think about awareness and prevention and the difference, but this also gives you permission tonight to laugh. Because sometimes we think, she said something funny, I can't laugh because we're talking about sex trafficking. I know, but I'm hilarious, so you're not going to be able to hold it in. I'm just telling you. Just kidding. I really am. Okay, here we go.
David, you have one of the worst cavities I have ever seen. Okay, have a good day.
Aren't you gonna fix it?
Well, I'm not a dentist. I'm a dental monitor. I just tell you when you have a bad cavity.
It's bad. Lunch?
Oh, yes.
Where are you going?
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it?
I love that commercial. That's hilarious. I only see this like... Yes, because we're all terrified if we... I don't sell LifeLock. I don't. But that is what's happening, and that's what we want to stop. We want to make sure that you guys know what to do to actually prevent it. So this is how I believe we start. I am going to ask all of you, how old are you guys? What grade are you in? 7th? 5th? And where am I? Okay, so 7th and 5th. I'm going to ask you, what grade? 9th? Okay, you're going to all be 8th graders. Okay? I know, you were there. I know, it really is. And so are you. All of us are 9th grade, or we can be 9th graders. It's okay, whatever. No, 8th graders? Yeah, okay, we're all 8th graders. So here's what I'm going to do. Who wants $20? Yes, exactly. Okay, you guys are liars. Just going to tell you right there, because if you offered me $20, I'd take it. $20, you want this? Okay, absolutely. So what if I take this $20 and I fold it like this? Do you still want it? Okay. What if I take this same $20 and I crinkle it into a little tiny ball? You still want it? Yeah? Okay. What if I take this $20 and I throw it on the ground and I stomp on it? My feet are pretty dirty because it's gross out there. Do you still want it? Yeah. Okay. What if I rip it just a little? You still want it? What if I do this? So 8th graders, by the way, I'll go, but there is tape, right? Tape works. This is actually counterfeit, so you don't want it. Just a funny little story I have to tell you. And then I'll make my point. Sometimes I get on bunny trails. But Abby told me we had until like midnight. Is that right? So we're good? Okay. So this is clearly counterfeit. Those of you who can't see, there's like Asian writing on the front and it's red and it doesn't really close up look. So, but I have all these in my bag, and I had a real check that was given to me, and then a real $20 bill in there. And I go through the bank, and I'm in the drive-thru, and I just grab it, and I put it in the deposit thing, and I'm doing my stuff, and she says, you know, good morning, blah, blah, blah. Ma'am, did you want to deposit this $20 bill with that check? And I'm like, yep. ma'am, do you know that is fake? And I'm like, I almost died. I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. In my job, I use those $20 bills. I thought I was going to get arrested, but I did not. Anyway, the point of this is, and we say to these 8th graders and 9th graders and all of the above, so why do you still want that $20 bills? If I do all that stuff, why do you still want it? Because it's still valuable. It has value. Doesn't matter what I do to it, it still has value. And guess what? Every single one of you are just like that. And it doesn't matter what anyone says to you. It doesn't matter what anyone does to you. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter who your parents are. It doesn't matter if you walk out of here right now and do something horrible. Your value doesn't change. And that is so important to remember, that we have an intrinsic value that doesn't change based on what somebody else might think about us or based on how somebody else might treat us. It doesn't change. Now, that is so critical when we're talking about something like sex trafficking. That's the first part of the battle. Because if we understand our value, we require what? Somebody treats us with what? Respect. When we understand, look at the person next to you and point to the person on your right. Now point to the person on your left. Are they valuable? Yes. And when you understand their value, we have to treat them with respect. One of the biggest things when we're talking about sex trafficking, it is modern day slavery. That's what it is. It's slavery. And when we talk to kiddos about slavery, and when we talk to adults about slavery, we understand one main path, that is, in order to sell a person, in order to sell a human being, in order to buy a human being, you have to look at them as though they are not human beings. And so when we can truly teach our kids and our family and our students and everybody around us how incredibly valuable they are, not because they have 1,000 followers on Instagram, not because they are popular, not because somebody tells them great things. They are just valuable because. And that is so key when we're talking about our youth. So, what if we're looking, when it comes to sex trafficking, for the wrong thing? What if we're looking for the movie Taken? What if we're looking for that? I can't tell you how many times I hear equated with sex trafficking the word kidnapping. There is a true perception that people are trafficked because they've been kidnapping. But we know that the majority of trafficked victims are trafficked by someone they know. So it's not about kidnapping. Now, another 8th grade joke, since none of you guys are 8th graders, I'm going to tell you another joke. What kind of shoes does a kidnapper wear? White Vans! Yes! You got it! Woo! That's 7th grade. Yeah. Yes! Very good. White Vans. Not true, but yes, great joke. Okay. So, what if we're looking for the wrong thing? What if we're looking for the fact that only girls are victims in kidnapping, in sex trafficking? See, I just did it to myself. What if we're looking for only girls? Then we're missing an entire population of boys that are absolutely could be victims. Boys actually are more profitable and bring in a higher price point. They're more profitable. So what if we're looking for only men as big bad buyers and traffickers? Then we miss an entire population of traffickers that are going to easily traffic our kids because we're looking at the wrong people. And so we need to understand that girls can be victims, boys can be victims. Guys can be traffickers, girls can be traffickers. Men, women, all of the above. And what does a trafficker look like? I hear all the time kids saying things like, well, you know, like a predator, a trafficker is like some creepy old guy, like 30, super old, wearing a big trench coat. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, that would be easy when you spot the creepy 30-year-old. I mean, right there. Okay, I didn't really point to anyone, by the way. No U.S. citizens are trafficking victims, only international immigrants. The reality is, in Nebraska, in very high immigrant populations, I will call out one town in particular, very high immigrant population, 80% of the traffic victims are U.S. citizens. So even when we're looking at a high immigrant population, in America, it's U.S. citizens being trafficked. Trafficking victims must be transported from place to place. This is probably the toughest one for us because we really have that movie Taken in our mind. And even if the movie Taken isn't in our mind, we think, again, somebody is literally taken and then they're sold, and they're sold all over the place. And that absolutely can happen. But in Nebraska, we see things can be very different, and people are transported. A lot of times they stick around the general vicinity, Midwest area, but a lot of times we see kiddos being trafficked right out of their homes. There was a gal in high school. She would go to school. She would go to her afternoon job at Dairy Queen. She would come home, do her homework, and she was being pimped out by her boyfriend at night. Mom and dad none the wiser. Another traffic victim said, as long as I'm home by curfew, I don't get in trouble and my parents don't know. So these kids were being trafficked right out of their home. Unfortunately, we are seeing a huge increase in mom and dads being the traffickers. And so when we see mom and dads being the traffickers, obviously they're being trafficked right out of their home. So transportation does not have to take place. Forced bodily restraint must be present. That's, again, that coercion. So when we see, this is where we have that problem of why don't they just leave? So if we see traffic victims walking around, so sometimes they'll walk and go, to the convenience store and go get cigarettes or whatever. You're like, why don't they just keep walking? Why don't they leave, right? But the reality is, and we'll talk about the grooming and breaking process, if this is what you know, and this is your safe place, because this person is someone I love, and they're giving me food, they're giving me a place to sleep, maybe they're giving me drugs, whatever it is I need, I don't know how to go anywhere else. And so sometimes they don't leave because, number one, they don't even recognize they're being trafficked. The majority of trafficked victims do not self-identify as victims. They have no idea. But sometimes they're afraid to leave because if you ever leave or do anything that's wrong, I'm going to kill your family. One gal, 13 years old, trafficked by her boyfriend, was told, if you ever do anything out of line, well, she was first, after they had dated for a while, he took her to a strip club. She was 13 years old. And then a bunch of people raped her and they videotaped it. And he said, if you ever get out of line, not only will I show this to your entire school and your entire church and community, but I will take your 10-year-old sister and I will do the same thing to her. And so there's this mix of things that are going on. And people being trafficked choose to be trafficked. Absolutely not true. Yes? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of times, this is my boyfriend. This is my girlfriend. This is my really good friend from school. And absolutely, they're home by curfew and all is well. Yeah, it's terrifying. Good question. Thank you. Any other questions? I cannot answer any questions about the weather. I don't know why it's lasting so long. I just don't. Okay. So, who is the trafficker? Now, 52% of trafficking recruiters are men. And that's kind of what we think about when we think about traffickers. We think about men being trafficking recruiters. And the recruiter is somebody who does the luring. So the recruiter is typically somebody who's pretty charismatic, somebody who's probably pretty attractive, somebody who people want to be around. But 42% of trafficking recruiters are women. That's a huge number. And as a mom, when I was a mom of littles, I used to say, now, if you guys are ever in trouble, go to the nearest McGruff house or mom with kids. I mean, that's what I would tell them. But if 42% of trafficking recruiters are moms or women, what do we do? So, mom, Mary, there's a woman named Mary, and she was a mom, and she was shopping in the mall with her daughter, we'll call her Victoria. And Mary and Victoria were shopping, and Jessica, Victoria's friend, comes bouncing down the mall and says, "Oh my gosh, Victoria, it's so great to see you. How are you? It is great to see you. Guess what? I just got a new job and I'm so excited about it. I have all these flexible hours and I make this much money. I cannot wait." And Mary, hearing this conversation, said, "You know what, Jessica, I own a spa. And I'm actually looking for a receptionist. And you know what? I will give you even more flexible hours and I will double what you're making now if you come work for me." And Jessica thought, this is great. This is my friend's mom. She owns a spa. Yes, I will go be a receptionist at Mrs. Victoria's mom's place. I made that up. I don't think she said that. So she went and she was a receptionist, and Mary spent months and months and months grooming Jessica, and we'll talk about the grooming process. And after grooming her for a long time, she finally went up to Jessica and said, "Look, you probably at this point know that this is not your typical spa. You're going to go working in the back." And she sold her, destroyed this girl's life. So that's Mary, a mom with a kid. 42% are women. Now, are there any math teachers in here? Thank you for doing that evil work. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Math is really important. I just don't understand it, right? It's just me. It's mostly me. My kids are all like math whizzes, and they love math, and they'll play math games at the dinner table. They'll be, "Stop that, because I don't understand what they're talking about." So thank you for doing what you're doing and being smarter than me. Okay, and you have probably noticed already, yes, that my math is not good. And 52 plus 42 do not equal 100. So what's the other 6%? It's kids. Absolutely. It's kids. And not too long ago, in a couple of schools, there was young senior, good-looking, popular, selling and recruiting kids right out of the Friday night football game every Friday. Selling and recruiting new ones. Sometimes it's friends. I have a friend of mine whose daughter was a good friend with somebody she grew up with. She went to church with. They went to school. I mean, just grew up with this family. And this young gal was being trafficked and went to my friend's daughter. And I don't even think it was malicious, but hey, look I've got all this. I've got this phone. I've got this bag. You can have all this too if you want to do what I do. And my friend's daughter said, "Isn't that called prostitution?" She's like, no, that's not what it is, but you can do it too. So I think sometimes even when kids are recruiting, they're not even recruiting maliciously or because they're made to. Sometimes it's just, I have no idea, but this is a good deal. And then a lot of recruiters were victims. So we see that. Questions about any of that? You know, I was totally kidding calling math evil. It's not. All right. 1 in 6. These are some of the risk factors that we see. Now, traffickers go after the vulnerable. So vulnerability can be any of these things. So 1 in 6 runaways were reported likely victims. Now, there's a statistic that says, and in Omaha especially, we have a huge homeless population among youth. But we know it's a problem here as well. And 1 in 3 youth who run away will be within 48 hours approached by a trafficker. 1 in 3 within 48 hours. Which makes sense, because what do you need if you're on the streets? You need shelter, you need money, you need food. And so, of course, that makes total sense. LGBTQ, very high risk of being trafficked, and not because they're LGBT per se, but because they may be displaced, they may not feel accepted. That makes them vulnerable, so there's vulnerability there. And 85% of those involved in sex trafficking were abused as children. That's a really high percentage. And when I think about that, I think, okay, well, that's good, right? But then we look at the statistic that says 1 in 10 children have been sexually abused. 1 in 10. That's a mighty high number. And so all of those make kids vulnerable. But it's not just those kind of things. And one of the biggest things, and we are seeing such a change in our world because vulnerability is taking a different shape because of social media. And so what made our towns were small with people that we knew, and now because of social media, it's global. It's huge. And so we have lost control of a lot of those things. And so now you can be very vulnerable. What used to take a lot of work for traffickers to find out information, I may have had to go sit down somewhere with you and ask you questions as a regular customer and you're a waitress, whatever it may be. What took a lot of work now takes no work at all. And now I can get all the information I need because it's posted on social media. And so now you're vulnerable because you've posted something stupid on social media and you've allowed people to follow you that you don't know, and boom. So we are going to watch, what time do we have? We are going to watch a video, and I just want to show, I love this video because the end of the video is so important and so great. Now, I will tell you there's some language in this, minor, but also the one thing about this video that really bothers me is that they only talk about girls being trafficked and victims, guys being traffickers. So when you hear that, add and boys, or hear and women, and here we go.
When you look closely, these women are in fact not criminals, but hostages walking among us. By night and by day across the country, young American girls controlled by pimps are sent out to have sex for money, sometimes 20 men a night.
We had to make at least $1,000 a day. There was no days off.
They have to sleep with 10 to 20 strangers per night.
I would probably have up to like 20. I was so exhausted. I didn't want to do it anymore.
He hit me a few times, and then he had a gun and he pointed it at me and he was like, "You need to do what I say." He was like, "I will kill you."
Savannah was looking at websites when she was lured away. A study says the average age a girl enters prostitution is 12 to 14 years old.
So one day, I think I was 13. I didn't really know a lot about anything. So I went online and I don't know how I came across like this website for like sugar daddies, guys would pay for your stuff. I didn't know that I would have to have sex with them. I just thought they were I don't know what I was thinking, but I just thought that, they would buy me stuff and just because I was pretty. I don't know. I still did not understand what was happening, like completely, even when we went to the hotel room until it happened.
And that is just one way pimps lay the trap.
A lot of times we'll walk in, and again, it's not that bad.
At New York's Port Authority, two plainclothes officers, Sergeant Hector Martinez and Officer Jack Collins, tell me we are surrounded by pimps just out of sight who come here to stalk runaways. The pimps can spot them immediately.
But you're in a kind of race against
the pimps.
Absolutely. They see, towards your left-hand side, as soon as they walk into Greyhound, wannabe pimps, recruiters, now they sit there, they watch.
The officers try to intervene. A lot of the kids are from foster care. A lot have been sexually abused. And the predators know exactly what they hope to hear.
They sell them on the idea of a warm place to stay for a night, the possibility, potential for romance, maybe earning some money.
So these officers may be the last chance before a girl disappears into the shadows. Maria has been looking for her daughter, who ran away when she was 15.
I haven't heard from her.
In his documentary, A Path Appears, Nick Kristof continues his lifetime mission, going in search of missing girls. With an anxious mother looking on, he searches some of the websites where the girls are most often advertised. He spots a picture and the offer, mixed Latina catering to your needs.
That's her. We have to make sure.
Is that
Okay, that's her. Oh my. Okay, look at this is look at
now we found her.
We found her, but listen.
We found
now
her.
we have her.
As he continues his search, Nick tells Maria her daughter has been trafficked in more than one state.
So she was taken to New Hampshire as well. And there's another girl with the same phone number, and at least one other, maybe a couple. So it's evidently somebody who's running a couple of girls and, you know.
It's big business. A pimp can pull into a truck stop with an RV full of 7 girls and make $1,400 an hour.
this fundamental misperception that somehow a pimp and this girl are dividing up money or something? Every penny she earns goes to the pimp. Every penny. And if she holds some back or she doesn't meet her quota that she is given, whatever, $700, $800 that day, then she is going to be beaten up.
As we said, it's big profit, supported by the thousands of men buying sex every day.
The chance that any one of those is going to be arrested is infinitely lower than the chance that they'll be struck by lightning.
Last year, in one New York City court, more than 400 charged with prostitution offenses, but only 10 accused of being pimps or johns. The Covenant House, one of the largest shelters for at-risk youth. Jane Biggleson says she hears from the girls who fell victim how easy it was.
One young person said, he was the first person to ever give me a birthday cake. He was, they know what the young person needs.
If there were gun traffickers out there, that we would find ways to get them out of the picture. But that somehow, if it's people who are trafficking 15-year-old girls, then somehow that's not enough of a priority, and so we regret it, but they're still out there. These are homegrown American girls. It's basically been seen as a public nuisance issue rather than as a human rights problem.
Shauna, who started at age 14, remembers the day she couldn't take it anymore. She says after 22 years, she was here, waiting above a filling station.
You know what I'm saying? I was so tired. And I was like, if you are a God, save me. I walked back out to Murfreesboro Road, right out there, and the police picked me up and took me to jail. And I was so tired. I just couldn't do it anymore. Look how many days.
As she's driving, she sees a woman she recognizes on the street, someone who was also once young and had a different life ahead of her.
What have you been doing? You're clean. I'm clean for 3 years now. Well, I'm not, bitch. Get away from me. Get away from me, hoe. When you get tired, I'm not a hoe no more. When you get tired, let me know.
Where you at? Give me your number. I got a number. I got a number. What's your number?
320.
I am tired. You hear me?
Are you tired?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go today?
No.
No? Well?
I'm tired. I just want to get well one more time.
Bitch, go on. I love you. I've been there. I know. God, she used to be so beautiful. She's messed up.
I don't know an easy way to walk away.
As beautiful as the young girls back at home tonight. The mother whose daughter was seen on that website.
Maybe time will heal.
And that young girl who didn't know it would be about sex.
I love you.
Who found her way home to her mother. And as beautiful as the young girls, still lost in the shadows.
I love that end of that video because it shows the difficulty and the pain and trauma in her head. She wants to go, she doesn't want to go. She doesn't know how to go, but she wants to go, she's tired. I mean, that is the story. Do you guys have any questions about any of this up to this point? Okay, so let's talk about red flags. And I want to talk about red flags mostly specifically to people you're going to see that you know. But we will also talk about red flags. So if you see somebody in Walmart, or if you see something, you work in an area where people come and go, what you're looking for are people who perhaps are mismatched. Maybe you've got an older person with a younger person. Maybe this older person is extremely well dressed, younger person not as well kept, things like that. Maybe you find somebody whose eyes are always down looking at the floor. They're not willing to make eye contact. That can be a huge sign. So those are some of the things where somebody else does all the talking. If you're in an airport, for example, and you're in the security line and you are getting ready to, go up to the TSA, you have somebody in front of you or around you who all of a sudden is handing out all of the passports or all of the IDs. Here you go. And now you go in and I'll take them all back. So that would be a huge sign that there is something going on there. So somebody who is carrying everybody else's stuff or talking for people. Now, when it's somebody that you know, maybe this is a family member, and what I will tell you is we'll talk prevention here in a little bit and really how to get there. But the number one way to prevent sex trafficking is building relationships. One of the things I always say is traffickers build amazing relationships. We need to build better ones. Traffickers have incredible networks. We need to have bigger ones. And so we have to work as a community, not just individually, but work as a community to stop this from happening in our community. So building relationships is key. So if that's teachers, and you are providing a safe place for your kids that they can talk to you about anything, so important. If you're parents, you need to be those approachable parents that your kids can tell you anything and that you are responding to that. Those are some of the things, building those relationships. So excess cash and expensive gifts. All of a sudden you see somebody with all this cash, maybe they're flashing it, maybe they've got all these gifts, got a new iPhone, got a new Coach bag, and that's just not typical. Where did you get that? That type of thing. That is usually during the grooming process. So that's what you would see while they are being groomed to get ready to be trafficked. Abrupt change in habits, mood, behavior, speech, apparel. Presence of an older boyfriend, girlfriend, friend of the family. Now this can look like troubled kids or drugs or something like that. So we'll talk about the questions behind the questions. Tattoos, especially hidden ones. So maybe in the lip, maybe in the fingers or toes. Those are really hard because I will tell you, people get all kinds of tattoos. I used to say if you see a barcode, that is a definitive sign of a traffic victim. People are actually getting barcodes. Don't get a barcode tattoo. No, bad. Okay. Frequent absence from class or work, influx of cash, mood change, age-inappropriate relationship, again, traffickers accompany victim, age-inappropriate familiarity with sexual terms. So you've got these things going on, you're seeing this, and you've got somebody who all of a sudden they're changing their apparel, or their habits are drastically changed. So you ask them, so tell me about this new look you've got going on. It's great. I love it. So talk to me about it. You've got this new boyfriend. You've got this new girlfriend. Tell me all about the relationship. What do you guys do together? Where'd you meet? So you got a new job? What do you get to do with your money? That is awesome. You build a relationship by truly building that relationship, and then you are having a conversation, not as somebody condemning or saying, but somebody who is opening up a door to say, I am a safe place to come talk to, and you can tell me what you need. And that is, now we'll talk about parents, because parents, there's a little caveat to that. You got to be a parent. So we'll talk about that later. But you need to be able to open up that honest conversation. Questions about some of those red flags? And again, it's catching some of those things early. If we're starting early, our kids are not immune because of social media, and I'll tell you a story about mine, but we need to start those conversations like that. Because if a relationship is built by a trafficker instead of you, they're going to win. So we need to make sure that we're protecting our kids. Some of the things that puts our kiddos at risk, drugs and alcohol. Obviously, when inhibitions go down, and traffickers absolutely use drugs, they use alcohol to desensitize our kids and to break them. So we'll talk about the grooming process and the breaking process in a little bit. Running away. But I'll have kids say, none of that, those two aren't me. I would never run away, and I would never do drugs. I would never drink. But unhealthy relationships and social media. So unhealthy relationships, and I'll ask kids, how many of you are in a relationship? And depending on the age, few people say, or others say, no, you are all in relationship. Every single one of you are in relationship. And some of those relationships are very healthy, and some of them are not. And we know, every single one of us, I bet if I were to ask each and every one of you and said, have you ever been in an unhealthy relationship? We would all raise our hands. Not romantic necessarily, but if you've had toxic friends, if you've had a teacher or a boss or something like that, we've all had unhealthy relationships. So teaching our loved ones what a healthy relationship looks like and what it doesn't, because they key on that unhealthy relationship piece. And social media, how many of you guys are on social media right now? Not right this second, that would be rude. That'd be very rude. But like you're on social media in your world. Yeah. So I would say most. Anybody not on social media? Wow. But you are? Oh, you're different. Oh, got it. Okay. I'm like, wow, you let him and not her. Okay, got it. You said no. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, now, those of you who say no, and if you have kids that are under the age of 18, do any of you have kids under the age of 18? Are your kids on social media? Not really? So here's what I would say to you. If your kids are on social media, you need to be on social media. If your kids have Instagram, you better have Instagram. If your kids are on Snapchat, you better have Snapchat. So these are the things I talk to parents about, and we'll get there. But I would just say, most of us are on social media at some point in time or another, but if your kids are on something, go there too. Okay. But we'll talk about that in a minute, because now we're going to have a fun activity. I need 6 volunteers. Come on. Oh, gosh, don't run all at once. Yes, good job. Very good. Thank you. 1 volunteer. Come on up. 1. Yes, thank you. Come on up. Yes, very good. Come on up. Come on up. I feel like I'm an auctioneer. Yes, good. Okay. All right. Let me just tell you this. Volunteers have an easier time than you guys do. Anybody else want to join? No? Yes, there we go. Okay, I'm going to have you hold this. Because you guys just get to be up here and look beautiful, and you guys have to do all the work. Okay, there you go. And get in I'm sorry. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. They're going to stand in a fabulous line. Yes, and you are going to put them in order of the grooming process. So we're going to start. Very good. We're going to start. You just shout it out. Tell them where to go. Okay. They want you over here. You can probably stay there because fill a need's over here. Yep, okay. See, aren't you glad you volunteered? That's it. Okay, is that what we got? So they target you, they fill a need, they gain your trust, they create distance, they begin an inappropriate relationship, and they maintain control. Are we right? Are we right? Almost! Almost! Very good. Good job. You guys did it. Woo! Round of applause. Yes. Very good. You can put those down. Go back to your seats. Give them a round of applause. They were fabulous. Oh, you're being all so neat. Thank you. You can just drop them. Oh, see, thank you, teachers. Teachers are neat. Okay, so let's talk about this grooming process because this is what it looks like in our community. So, give me a name. Susie. Susie. I heard Susie. Okay, so Susie is an 8th grader. This is actually a true story. Susie is not her name, but Susie is an 8th grader. And Susie loves to post on her favorite social media platform, which is Instagram, absolutely. And her second one is, yes, it is. It's Snapchat. And she loves to post on Instagram. And so Susie will be like, hey, I'm in my math class and it's awesome because I love math. And then other people will post other things. And then Susie will post things like, oh my gosh, my mom, she's such a loser. We got in a huge fight this morning. I can't say my blah, blah. And then she'll post things like, and Susie loved to go to skate days in Omaha. And skate days has roller skating, because who doesn't want to do that, right? That's right. Okay, so Susie posts like, oh my gosh, I'm going to skate days. Who wants to come on skate days with me? We're going to skate days tonight. Can't wait. And then one day Susie posted, oh, guess what? I just got new pink skates. I'm so excited. They're super cute. And I'm going to skate days. Come with me. Woo! And one day she runs in to this tall glass of water. He's good looking. He's a little older. And they're in Starbucks. And he says, hey, I know you. I know you. And Susie's like, no, I don't think so. He was like, yeah. You go to skate days, don't you? And she's like, yeah, I do. He was like, in fact, I just saw you last week. You just got new pink skates, right? She's like, oh, I did. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. I remember you. By the way, your butt looks super cute in those jeans. Thank you. So they start communicating on Instagram and Snapchat and start to build a little relationship. And then one day she posts, OMG. I just got tickets to Katy Perry. Wow! Can't wait. This is so exciting. Clearly, she's the only excited one in this room. Okay, yes, Katy Perry. So, what do you know? Tall drink of water comes up to her where? Katy Perry. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I didn't realize you were a Katy Perry fan. This is great. And now they start dating. So they're close, they're building a relationship, they're dating, and everything he needs to know about her, he knows, because he's been following her on Instagram. So he's targeted her. That's hard to see, I know, I'm sorry. He's targeted her for whatever reason. We don't know what it was that he saw, but whatever it was, and they're masters at targeting and then gaining trust. And it's easy to gain trust because I know everything I need to know to tell you what you like, and I like the same thing, and that just builds that trust right there. And now I'm going to fill a need, and I'm going to tell you, you are beautiful. You are amazing. I love you so much. I'm so glad that we're together. I can't live without you. And I'm going to fill a need. But now I'm going to isolate and I'm going to sexualize. And so that can happen almost simultaneously or reverse or however. But now it's no longer, oh my gosh, you're beautiful. I think you're amazing. Now it's more like, you know what? You're kind of a piece of crap. And you and I have been together all this time. And I just want you to know that nobody loves you like I do. And not because you're so, no, you can't be loved by anybody. You are so lucky to have me. And your friends that used to be around, now that we've been together, have you noticed they're not around anymore? So your friends weren't really your friends. And your parents, they are so controlling. I can't even believe that you want to even stay with them. You are so lucky to have me. And there's that breaking process. And then he walks into her school one day and he says, hey, receptionist, I'm here to get Susie. She has a dentist appointment. And she bounces up and says, hi, Daddy, because that's what victims call their pimps. And he sells her all day long. And that happens over and over and over again. That is a true story that happened. He is in jail now, yay, but destroyed Susie. And that was through social media. That's how it happened. And that's the stages of grooming. Now, the breaking process can look a number of different ways. In the grooming process can be a short period of time. It can be a day. It can be a week. It can be a year. Usually it's longer because they have time, because there's plenty other victims to sell. So they're going to take time to build this one. And that grooming process can last a long time, and then the breaking process. And the breaking process can look like a number of different things. The breaking process can simply be drugs, and I'm going to break you, and I'm going to break you down. I'm going to beat you. I am going to do things to you that you can't even imagine, and I'm going to treat you horribly. That could be the breaking process. The breaking process could be, I just want you to know I'm going to kill your family if you do anything. And over and over and over again. That could be the breaking process. Pimps sometimes will have stables, and that's what they call them, stables, and a pimp can be a guy or girl, but where they have all of their victims in one place. And sometimes the breaking process can be as simple as taking one victim and beating the crap out of them, possibly killing them in front of everybody else in that stable. And I am going to show you what happens if you do anything wrong. And I just want you to know, if you do anything, this will happen to you. They don't even have to touch anybody else. Just seeing what happened to this one. So the grooming process and the breaking process. And now you think about that same victim in that video. And when we think about why don't they leave, that's why. And not only have they been broken, they're not the same person that walked in. And now we're talking about a brainwashing effect. So questions before we move on. I want to talk about consent because this is a really important piece of the puzzle, is understanding what consent is. And I think sometimes when we think about consent, we always hear sexual consent. But the reality is that consent needs to be taught at a very, very young age. And consent just says, I get to say no to you if you want to touch me and I don't want you to. I mean, that's an example of consent. So for example, let's say I'm a mom of little 5-year-old Johnny. And Aunt Gertrude is coming to visit. We're so excited. We love Aunt Gertrude. And she's coming, and there she is, little Johnny. Aunt Gertrude's here. Now go give Aunt Gertrude a big hug and a kiss. And little Johnny looks at me and goes over there and he says, Ew, she stinks. I don't want to hug and kiss her. What should I do as the mommy of little Johnny? Respect that. We might have a conversation about the fact that you openly said Aunt Gertrude stinks in front of her. That's a problem. But if I force little Johnny to give her a big hug and a kiss, even though little Johnny has now said no, I have taught him it doesn't matter what you want with your space, I control that. And that's exactly what traffickers count on. Traffickers count on the fact that if somebody goes in, we're Nebraska nice people. We're fabulous people, right? How many times, I've learned, and we do a lot of traveling in western Nebraska, and I'm not originally from Nebraska, been here for a very long time, but didn't start going to western Nebraska until I was an adult. And one of the things I learned very quickly was how to do this. Yep, right? We know that. Yeah, we know what to do. Okay, so sometimes it's two, sometimes it's this. In the big cities, it's this. So yes, we're Nebraska nice people, right? Now, if somebody comes in and goes in for a hug, how many of you are willing to go, no? And we might say we're willing to, but how many of us would really go, no, please don't hug me? Come here, baby. Good job. I'm proud of you. I'm not talking to teenage boys here, okay? Just not. So, but really, we think, oh gosh, you're going to take it, right? You're going to take the hug. Ew. But we need to learn that it is okay to say, you know what, I'm just not comfortable hugging right now. No, not comfortable. I have one of my educators is not a hugger. I am a super big hugger. I love to hug people. I'm a hugger. I'm a toucher. I'm a hugger. And so she is not. And so I had to learn. She worked for me. I was her boss, so I didn't go in for the hug at the interview or anything like that. That would be weird. But eventually, as she started to become part of my team, I learned she was not a hugger, so I cannot just go in and hug her. And she'll remind you. If you forget, she'll be like, eh. I'm like, okay, that's consent. And we have to take consent off that just sexual level. Now, consent sexually, critical, right? But it's got to go deeper than that. And if we can start teaching our kids at a young age, you get to say no to any touch. Not just bad touch, good touch, but you get to say no. You might not get to say no to your broccoli. That's not an option. Sorry. No, dude, eat it. Okay? But any touch, that's so important. So, because we need to start teaching our kids, it can't be about stranger danger. It used to always be about stranger danger. But we're in a different world today, and the reality is, and we've taught our kids, I just talked to someone, a counselor at a school. I educated a bunch of school counselors yesterday. And she said, I think we have taught our kids that people we trust are certain roles. So we trust mom and dad, we trust grandma and grandpa, we trust teachers, we trust police officers, we trust, certain roles that we trust. The problem is not all of those people are trustworthy. And I will be in a classroom and I'll say, so tell me who you trust in your life. And there are kids that say mom and dad, and then there will be other kids that say, I can't trust my mom and dad. And we need to really recognize that. So how do you know a trustworthy person? So here's my question for you, because I ask all the kids this. Tell me the characteristics of a trustworthy person. You have something on the tip of your tongue. They tell the truth. Okay, what else? They don't force you to keep secrets. That's good, yes. What else? They're respectful. You guys have good answers. That's good. Anything else? Reliable. So I will hear a lot of times, and not just from kids, I will tell you this, from adults too. A trustworthy person is friendly. A trustworthy person dresses nice. Never see, yeah, right. Right, and dresses nice. You never see me on Saturday, you know what I'm saying? Okay, a trustworthy person dresses nice. A trustworthy person, and this is probably the kicker. I had a woman say, a trustworthy person goes to church every Sunday. And then the kicker of kids, that was an adult, but the kids said, a trustworthy person is someone who covers for you when you're doing something you don't want your parents to know. So we actually have that conversation, by the way, is that really a trustworthy friend? Because now we're going to look at what trustworthy means. So there's 3 things that decipher a trustworthy person from a non-trustworthy person every time. A trustworthy person will never ask you to do something illegal. A trustworthy person will never ask you to do something that goes against your moral compass. Now, all of our moral compasses are different. And so if I were to say to you, dude, after this, we're going to go and have 5 cheesecakes. What do you say? Dude, because I would like that too. Yes. Let's say you didn't say, let's go. Let's say you said, I'm not really comfortable doing that. What should I say? What should my response be? Yeah, okay, I'll eat them all. That's fine. I get it, right? So a trustworthy person will always respect your choices, and a trustworthy person always wants the best for you. So I'll tell you a story. There was a teacher in my daughter's middle school, and he was a great teacher. He was charismatic. He was on fire for teaching. He was good looking. He was young. He was the dad of 2. He was married. He was awesome. Kids loved him. He was my daughter's favorite teacher. And then we found out that he started an illicit relationship with a 12-year-old at the school. Number 1, started an illicit relationship with a 12-year-old. Turned sexual at 13. And then in 9th grade, so this is how long it went, 7th to 9th grade, he was caught sneaking into her home, and that's how he got caught. So he got 40 years, but he told the courts, I love her. She loves me. Okay, so let's break that down. Trustworthy person. Did he ask her to do something illegal? Yes. Did he ask her to do something that went against her moral compass? Absolutely, because there is not a single 12-year-old out there who is comfortable with a 35-year-old starting a relationship with them like that. And did he want the best for her? No. Those 3 things right there. And that is so critical to teach our kids. Now, here's the other thing that's important to teach our kids. Look out for each other. Because here's what we found out on social media the next day. Every kid at that school knew something was happening. Now, they didn't necessarily know that there was an illicit relationship going on, but they knew things like, well, they had secret lunches. There were weird things. Every kid. So if you see something, say something. And so we talked to the kids about, so, if you have a friend in a relationship that does not look safe, you go tell a trusted adult. You go tell a parent. And so those are kind of the things that we also talk about. But that is how it's got to be, about trustworthy people. Because every non-trustworthy person will break that at some point, will do something that goes against those 3 things. Questions about that? We're going to dive into social media because we just have a little bit of time. But I really want to get here because it's so important. Social media and online gaming is one of the number 1 ways traffickers are getting our kids. Online gaming, kids who are, now, and this is a tricky one, because if you know anything about gaming, a lot of gaming is set up to game with people you don't know, right? And so it is really important to know what is going on with your kids and gaming systems. And one of the number 1 ways traffickers are getting, especially getting the boys, is through online gaming. And so they'll strike up a conversation. And what kids don't understand is it's not going to be blatant. It's not going to be like, hey, dude, I want to meet up with you. Where do you live? That's not what it's going to be like. It's going to be real subtle. And it's going to start with a lot of gaming. And then it might be one day, hey, it's snowing where I am. What's it doing where you are? And then maybe the next time it's, oh my gosh, I got to get to bed. It's 10 o'clock. What time zone are you in? And boom, 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 boom. Or if you have a mic and you're on the mic headset and you're talking to people, and mom walks in the room and mom's like, hey, listen, we're going to go to the Nebraska game. Come on, let's go. And the mic's on. And now I know where you live. Maybe I start having a conversation with you and you're not even thinking about it because now you're just talking to mom. But I can hear everything that's going on in the mic. So online gaming, really big one. It's important that our kids are not gaming with people they don't know. And one of our educators does this. She lets her kid game, but he is not allowed to talk and he's not allowed to chat. And so if you can eliminate at least those things. But social media, another way. And kids will think the way that people, it's a fake profile, it's this, it's that. No. Social media is huge, and what our kids are doing is they're getting followers, and it doesn't matter. So I will ask kids, how many of you have 0 to 200 followers, no more than 200? And we'll go up to over 1,000. The highest number I had was 20,000. 20,000. I had, but most recently, and I was in a small town, and one of the kids had 3,200, and one of them had 1,400, something like that. So here's what I know. If you have more than 200 followers on social media, actually adults too, but as kids for sure, what do I know about your social media? If you have more than 200, what do I know? That you don't know all of those people. I know that. Because let's face it, we do not know 200 people. And so when you think about social media, you have to think about it like standing on a street corner and saying, hey, everybody, just wanted you to know that I just had some great Mexican restaurant with my nephew today. And it was at Hacienda, blah, blah, I don't know what the rest of the name is, but it was so good. And I had the seafood chimichanga. It was awesome. Couldn't eat it all, but it was great. Would that not be insane? Yeah, but that's exactly what we're doing. And frankly, who cares, right? Do we really care? So it's getting kids to understand, why do you want everybody to know your business? Because let's face it, and I'll ask kids, why do you need 1,000 followers? What's the answer? Huh? To be famous, yes. To be popular, absolutely. And I say, well, actually, having 1,000 followers doesn't make you popular. It just means you know people that go like this, which is, nothing. And so it's important to that is what's happening. But if you have 200 or more than 200, I know you don't know everybody. I know you don't. There was an adult. So this is somebody that I know. Friends with Facebook, don't really know her very well. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, I know her. And she said that she friended this guy, Mike, because her friend was friends with Mike. And this group of 5 women, all moms, all married, went out to dinner one day. And they were like, hey, by the way, who's Mike? I don't know Mike. I thought you knew Mike. I don't know Mike. I thought you knew Mike. I don't know. None of them knew Mike. Every single one of these women let him follow them. So Mike's creepy, right? Because he knows none of these women. But that's an adult. So kids will say, let me tell you a story. I had a kid who said, I was looking at the time. I had a kid who said to me, he was having some problems and his parents brought us in to talk to him. And I like to game, but I don't game with anybody I don't know. And I'm like, oh, good for you. So proud of you. So who do you game with? Oh, my best friend. Well, that's awesome. Good, good. Yeah. So how long have you known your best friend? Forever. Just forever. Good for you. Where's your best friend live? Arizona. We're in Nebraska. How did you meet your best friend? On the gaming console. Okay. Let me just ask you, how long is forever? Guesses? Who said 2 weeks? You are right. 2 weeks is forever. 2 weeks is not forever. Just so you know, that is not forever. So this is the mindset. You can't even say, then don't game with people you don't know. Don't add people you don't know. Because what does don't know mean to them? And so it's understanding, what does it mean? That means that the person that you are following on Facebook or that's following you, you are willing to have a conversation with them about things that you would have no problem with anybody else know. You've actually had an interaction with them. You trust this person based on those things. And that's what having someone you know is. Totally different world. So I want to show you how easy it is to get information on social media very quickly.
Hi, I'm Jack Vale, and I wanted to see how easy it would be to get personal information from complete strangers. And while I'm at it, of course, freak them out a little bit. Keep in mind when you watch this video, I got all of this information just by searching their personal social media posts. And I got it by searching for the closest Twitter, Instagram, and other social media posts to my current location. Let's go. Sorry to bother you. Is your name Jessica?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jack.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you. How are you?
Good. How do you know that's my name?
Ashley. Whenever it comes to me and I know who it is, okay. I know it's weird, but I have to shout it out to see if I'm right, and in that case I was right, so.
What the f*** right now? Wait a minute.
Are you Stephanie?
How do you know me?
How you doing? I'm Jack.
Did you just make that up and you just said that?
No, Elena, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna say happy birthday. Someone in your family is referred to as Pops. Is it like a dad or a grandpa or something?
You were tripping me out right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Hi,
happy birthday to you too, because I know you were actually, I should have said it to you because yours was before hers. But
birthdays?
Anyway, well, it's been like 7 weeks now or something like that. But anyway, good to see you guys. See you later. Like a little white curly dog, sort of like a little white dog.
Stop it.
That's creepy.
Do you have a dog?
Paris.
I don't know Paris. Wait.
It wasn't Paris though, it was like the first few letters, like pear or par or something like that. Am I right?
That's what I don't know. I didn't know she had a dog.
Seriously?
I swear to God.
Blanca or Blanca? Is that, how did I? Blanca. It's what? Blanca. 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 Okay. Is that your mom?
How do you know all this?
Bear, I feel like, or something like.
Who are you? I call Paris Pear Bear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cannot.
Recently, like, had lunch, dinner, or something like that. Chicken. There was chicken involved. I know for sure.
Shut the hell up.
I know.
Invading our privacy. Pretty sure you did that. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. I want to show you very quickly some real posts from teens. So if you guys see yourselves, sorry. But these are real posts from teens. And we do this with kids, but also adults. What do you see and what does the predator see? So you look at this. Now this is from a Cinsta. Who can tell me what Cinsta is? Fake Instagram, secret Instagram, right? Now, if I go into a school and says, who has a Cinsta? The majority of kids do. I just want you to know that. The majority of them have a Cinsta. A Cinsta is used for sex, drugs, rock and roll. There's a lot of suicidality on Cinstas, and it's bad. But this is her Cinsta, and so she's telling you she tries to be a good daughter and tell her mom her fun Friday plans when she asks instead of lying, but then she's questioned. How dare that mom? But I swear, my parents, that doesn't make sense, but she's not going to let me go to the effing rave. Oh, you better know I'm still going to go. No regrets. What does a predator see? Several things, right? Predator's going to see You are willing to go against what your parents say. You are going to this rave, and I know where the rave is, and you're going to have a time with no regrets. I see a lot in that. So here's a post from a 6th grader who goes to this school, and that's not her name. Her name is blocked out. But so I know a lot of stuff from this. I know that she goes to Wahoo Middle School. I know she's in 6th grade. I know what she looks like. Now I know her schedule because I know she goes to Wahoo Middle School, and that's easy to find online. And so she's going to tell me a whole lot. She only has 17 posts, so this is kind of newer, right? But she's going to tell me a whole lot in here. And then I'm not going to go kidnap her. I'm going to go to her school, or I'm going to find her at Starbucks, or I'm going to find her wherever and start building a relationship with her. So a follower means that she has 230 people following her, so it can see her account. The following means she's following 362 people. All right. And you can follow someone and still be private. So, and yeah, right. Thank you. And my Snapchat is. I mean, that's like the worst thing on there because now I can just snap her. That's super easy. Okay, so this was posted by a parent. Here we go. Ready to go. First day of school. How many pictures of the first day of school do we post right in front of the school sign? And she's getting ready to go to Reeder Elementary. We're so excited. And I can find out everything I need to know about her. So I have a lot more that are fun. We do a social media deep dive with parents, by the way, where we spend this amount of time just going into social media. And we say, bring your phones, bring your kids' phones if you want. And we'll have ours, and we take you through apps. So we walk you through all of the apps out there, and these change consistently, but we teach you how to use them. We teach you how to find them. We teach you how to find a Cinsta. I will never forget the day my oldest daughter, we were driving somewhere. We were going somewhere fun, and she's 18 now. This was a couple years ago, or I don't know, and we were having a nice conversation. I said, by the way, I found your Cinsta. And she turned, the girl's already pretty white. She turned even whiter, and she was like, what do you say? I said, you have 2 choices. You can add me to your Cinsta, or you can delete it. Totally up to you. That was fun. She chose to delete it, so I keep checking for it every time. Yes, exactly. So these are some of the apps, just really quick. Calculator app is a really important app to know about. It actually looks and works like a calculator, but there's a password, and then you can open it up and find all the photos that are hidden. Now, you know that on your phone, if you have a calculator app like this, it's going to have a lot more, a little calculator uses very little amount of memory and data, and so this is going to be big. TikTok, formerly Musical.ly, a lot of stuff with little kids, a lot of younger kids like it. Just really bad. A lot of easy access to a lot of things, a lot of chats. Now, Yubo is Snapchat and Tinder for kids. I kid you not. They made this for kids. And so it's Snapchat, and we know what Tinder is, online dating. So swipe right if you like, swipe left if you don't. So Yubo, if you see someone and you swipe right, you go directly into their Snapchat account. If you swipe left, it means you don't like them. So these are some of the things that are, and app makers, I tell you, they're making apps to stay a step ahead from parents. So it's pretty terrifying. So, and wrapping it up, this is, by the way, this is our curriculum. This is what we go into the schools. And we would love to be, Lincoln has been wonderful to us and with us. We are in almost all the Lincoln high schools, but not all of them. We would love to be in more middle schools, and we also have elementary. We started in 3rd grade and go through college. But with middle school and high school, we talk about sex trafficking and social media. These are all separate presentations, by the way, but social media safety deep dive, how media portrays us, healthy relationships, dating violence, healthy relationships and value. We do the same thing with college, only we add online dating to that. And then elementary school, empathy and responsibility and social media safety. So those are some of the things that we do. We don't charge to be in the classrooms, but we love to be directly in the classrooms. So, I have 2 minutes. I can totally do this in 2 minutes. And you can ask questions. So, here's what I always say to parents and teachers, but always be approachable. Now, this is so important, and it's so hard to do. And one of the ways to do that is do your best not to react. So if your kids come to you and say, Mom, I just need to tell you, I burned a donkey down to a crisp. If they tell you that, that's weird. I'm not saying that's going to be something here. I'm just going extreme. Your job as a parent is to go, uh-huh, you burned a donkey. Okay. Interesting. Tell me more. And not react at that moment. Now, you're freaking out inside, right? But the first time my oldest daughter told me a burn the donkey story, it wasn't burn the donkey, but it was so hard. Fortunately, we were driving and we were going this way. But here's the deal. That's not to say you don't give consequences. It's not to say that you don't parent. That's to say your initial response has got to be, okay, good to know, good to know. And then there are consequences. Knowing where your kids are in the cyber world and the real world at all times. It's really important. There's a great app called Life 360. Have any of you heard of that? It tracks your kids and it tells you exactly where they are. My daughter is getting ready to move to New York City. She's keeping that. I'm paying. So it tells you exactly where they are. And it tells you like they're driving hard stops if they break. I mean, it's fabulous. Right now, my daughter is driving to Walgreens apparently. So it's just good to know. But helping our kids understand consent, that is so key. They need to know that they do get to say no. Even like if we go in for a hug. I've had my youngest son is 13 and he's now turning into a teenager. This is the hardest thing for mom. He's my baby. He was always my baby, and now he's turning into a teenager, and Dad hangs the moon. Like, what? Where did Dad even get the materials for the moon? That's my stuff. I've had the moon. So this is a hard transition, but I will go in for a hug, and sometimes he's like, no, Mom, I don't want a hug. And I'm like, okay. I have to go somewhere else and burst into tears. But that's what we have to help our kids understand consent. So, offering a secure base of love and protection, being emotionally and physically available, recognizing and responding to their needs at that time, providing guidance and example, and providing opportunities to safely explore the world. Social media is not a bad thing, but it can be. And so it's teaching them how to safely navigate that. So, I have one more video that I can't show you, unless you guys want to stay and see it, and I'll let people leave and you can stay and watch it. But do you have any questions for me? Yes? Yeah, so it depends on the school. But some high schools, we are in the health class, and so we're there every semester or every quarter, and so we'll eventually get to all the kids. Some schools, we do it all in one shot. It just kind of depends on, I think in Southeast, we're there for 2 days, and we're in the health class. But yeah, so just kind of depends on the school. Good question. Yes? Correct. That's true. In College World Series, any big events, Nebraska football, anytime there's money. But I will tell you, it's not the recruiting that's happening, it's the bringing people in for those things. So you'll see a spike, so people from outside will be coming in, yes. But I will tell you too, so to respond to your first, So I think we're a hot spot for two reasons. And it's not necessarily the demand is higher here. We have more opportunity because of I-80 and I-29. And I think most definitively, again, we're awesome people and we're trusting and we don't think it's going to happen here and we don't think it's going to happen to our kids. And you better believe traffickers take advantage of that. So yeah, did you have? Absolutely. Yeah, and they are. And this is what you need to know. And this is what is so important. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. And it is in your backyard. And that is what is so critical. But not only is it in your backyard, but it's in your schools. And that's what we really need to understand. There was a gal who said, I was in school every single day. I would look at my classmates, I would look at my teachers, and I would think, I bet no one knows that I'm being sold on a daily basis. It's in a school. And so that is, yeah, there are, and we can see the maps of the hotspots, but I will tell you, and this is really, a lot of those, that's where the purchasing happens, or that's where they're finding. Backpage was a great place for data to come through. Backpage, did I say that? Backpage was a great place for data to come through. But that's just where you get the data, right? So we know it's even more. And it's happening, because I can't tell you how many kids I talk to that disclose to me that won't or haven't or didn't disclose to the police. And we are mandated reporters, obviously, and so we do have to report it to CPS or something like that, and so we can get the ball rolling. But even more so, I can't tell you how many adults I talk to that were trafficked as kids, and of course never reported it. So that's where, yeah, absolutely. What else? What other questions? So here's what I would like to do. We have marketing material here, and if you would like to take it, we would love for you to take it. We would love for you to have that accessible to you, and we want to be a resource to you. We also have resources on our website that we would love for you to access at any time. We have resources for youth, resources for parents and educators. But here's what I will do. If you need to leave, because I really want to be respectful of your time, please, by all means, leave. If you want to stay and watch this video, and it's not that long, but you're more than welcome to. So it's totally up to you.